everyone, it's Brittany Jones-Cooper, and today I'm chatting with Natalia Petrzela, a historian and host of Welcome to Your Fantasy, an 8-episode podcast exploring the scandal, sex, and yes, murder behind the Chippendales phenomenon. Welcome, Natalia.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
What initially sparked your interest in exploring the world of the Chippendales?
This particular story came about when I was asked to do a talking head thing for this European documentary and to comment on sexual culture in the 1980s. And they were talking about the kind of sexual politics of Chippendales. So then I started doing some primary source research and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a murder? Wait a minute, there's also all these feminists arguing, is this a feminist act? So then I ended up pitching it as a podcast and here we are.
4 nights a week, women flock to Chippendales, where male strippers gyrate, boogie, and yes, they do strip.
What was it in the culture in the 80s that made the Chippendales so successful?
At the moment in women's liberation and feminism, the notion of a kind of woman who earns her own money, a working woman, 9 to 5, who's got money to spend, who's in touch with her sexuality, all of that had sort of begun to filter into the mainstream. And that's definitely how Chippendales sold itself. These guys would show up to do promo events at the mall and they told me I felt like I was in the Beatles. All these girls would be rushing to get autographs. The idea that men stripping for women was mainstream, they created that.
How did you discover this murderous kind of plot?
So Nick DeNoia is the choreographer and producer of Chippendales. He's hired by Steve Banerjee. He really takes it from a take it off strip contest to, a theatrical production. And Steve Banerjee is, really so excited about all the success that this thing he started is getting because of Nick's talents, but also so deeply resentful. So I won't give everything away, but when Nick is killed, it takes a while to solve the crime. Everybody in his immediate circle is Steve did it.
And you interviewed some of the most prominent Chippendales dancers like Michael Rapp. Was there a universal experience or did each guy kind of have his own take?
Some of the guys were willing to kind of pull back that macho veneer. And as we got to talking to be you know what, this really messed with me. After a certain point, having to kiss 200 women a night, constantly be in this role of sex god, but it wears on you. And, it's hard to admit that, I think, as a man, even in 2021.
And Hollywood is making a film about Steve Banerjee in the world of Chippendales, and Dev Patel is slated to play him. Do you have any tips for them, things that they have to include in the film?
Capturing the world in which they operated is so, so important. This is not just the story of two men at each other's throats, and their battle of kind of greed and ambition, but it really is a story about 1980s America. And
if you guys want to check it out, episode 1 of Welcome to Your Fantasy is available now on Spotify, and there's new episodes every Wednesday. Natalia, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. This was great.